Okay, good morning, Nines. We're going to talk today about a different type of reaction, which is decomposition. When we think about decomposition, we should be thinking about decomposing, right? If you think about decomposers from our earlier science classes, we can talk about like compost. Essentially, what it is something that is being broken up back into its separate entities or separate building blocks, right? So it might look something like this, right? We have a mix of blue and red decomposes to just go back to blue and red. Okay, so they might be mixed up to begin with, even in something like a leaf or a living organism. Everything's mixed together, but as soon as it decomposes, it just goes back to its original building blocks that was used to build it in the first place. That's why decomposers are so important in our soil. So this is kind of a little drawing I made. This is the same idea. Think about it as logs, bones, leaves. Eventually, if you leave them in the ground, they'll decompose, and what that means is that they're going to go back to their building blocks. Okay, so that's for the bone. That's a lot of calcium. For the log, carbon and some other minerals, and everything just goes back to their smallest little building block. Okay, so what does that mean for us in chemistry? Right? What is a decomposition reaction? What that means is that something's going to start together and it's going to decompose back into its parts. And so you get a question that looks something like this. Okay, sodium chloride decomposes into sodium and chlorine. Okay, so it starts with sodium chloride, then decomposes back into its parts, sodium and chlorine. Let's take a look. Okay, so to write this, okay, so I'm just going to start sodium chloride. Okay, so classic NaCl decomposes. Okay, this is telling us that this is a reaction. Okay, so to show a reaction in our chemistry class, we're just going to use an arrow. Okay, to create sodium and chlorine. Okay, and some of us might catch it right off the bat. We have to remember that chlorine is in group 17 and is one of our diatomic elements. Okay, so we're going to need Cl2. Okay, for the first bunch of questions I give you, I'm going to give you all of this, and then again, just for you to balance it. This is still the goal, is to balance it. It just looks a little bit different. I want to introduce you guys into something a little bit new and say, well, Mr. Brems is just the other way, and it is. Like, we're used to going Na plus Cl gives us NaCl, right? We're used to them coming together, combining to create something. Now we're going the other way. We already have our compound. We're going to decompose into our elements. Okay, so are we done? Not quite, because this, what we'll see is it's not balanced, right? But we have one sodium and one sodium, but now we have one chlorine and two chlorines. So I'm going to need to put, again, two groups of NaCl. Okay, so that means I'm changing the Cl to match, but I'm also changing the Na. So now we have two sodium. We need two groups of sodium on this side. Okay, I think I'm done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through again, make sure. So I have two sodiums, two groups of sodium, good. Two groups of chlorine, and chlorine looks like I'm good. Okay, and I'm just going to write down the number that I have of each. I have 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. So everything is balanced on both sides. I'm looking pretty good. Okay, so these are very similar, but we'll start to notice that they're just switched, right? The compound is now on the left, the elements are on the right. So what does that mean with labeling the products and the reactants, right? So let's think about this. The products is what's being produced. So after reaction is always the products, and before is always the reactants. Okay, so whatever happens before the reaction, those are the reactants. That's what you're bringing to the reaction. Whatever's produced, that's your products. Okay, so before, the compound was the products and the elements were the reactants. Now it's just switched. Okay, so the reactants are always on the left, the products are always on the right. So you'll find that the slide activity that I gave you is very similar. There's a couple different type questions, but those will I would have covered in the intro video. So again, work your way through. If you have questions, hit me up on Google Hangouts, or come to our video chats and ask me your questions. Okay, guys.